Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome into a brand new edition of Sports Medicine Weekly on this Sunday morning. So happy you're with us. I'm Steve Kashul, joined by my co-host. He is the head team physician with the Chicago Bulls, one of the team physicians with the Chicago White Sox, sports medicine specialist, orthopedic surgeon from Midwest Orthopedics at Rush, Dr. Brian Cole. How are you, Dr. Cole, on this Sunday morning?
Steve, I'm doing well, hanging in there, and for better or worse, as busy as ever.
Yeah, that is hopefully good news. A reminder, everyone, podcast segments always available to hear on the Sports Medicine Weekly blog, Apple, through Google, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcast audio. Our website is sportsmedicineweekly.com. Our producer, as always, the one and only Shane Reardon. Well, Dr. Cole, the NBA opened up training camps this week. Head team physician for the Bulls. Tell us about the protocols the NBA and the Bulls have put in place to allow teams to begin practicing again.
Steve, it's like an entirely different world since we talked last week, and what's happened over the last week, I can tell you that has moved at a pace that one could never anticipate. We went from, essentially no activity to, one basketball player, one coach, two at a time, two of that going on at one time, nobody else in the building, to how you create a testing protocol, bring in a company to bring the tests on site, basically essentially create a lab at the facility, and through testing, demonstrating that people are not infected, allowing them to play without concern for transmitting the disease. It's just one of the most complicated, involved programs I've ever been associated with. And in a matter of 2 weeks, I'd say that we're ramped up now to play basketball. There's going to be some hiccups, but essentially it's a test-based strategy that is very similar to what was done in Orlando. It's a way to sort of create a bubble to identify people who are infected to prevent them from infecting someone else. Testing does not prevent someone from getting the virus, but it identifies who has it so that they can't subsequently give it to another individual. And that's really been the crux of the problem all along, is having adequate testing to prevent the disease spread. So fortunately now things have changed dramatically, and testing has become more accessible, not just to basketball and football players, but to everyday individuals. So yeah, it's been an incredible transition. We don't yet have a full-on schedule that should be coming hopefully this week. But pregame now, I think the 11th and the 13th are the preseason games. The two will be held in Chicago, and from this point forward, myself, players and what we call the Tier 1 individuals will be tested every single day up to and through the first games on the 11th and the 13th.
Dr. Cole, take us behind the scenes then with the NBA and with the Bulls. I mean, do the NBA docs all get together on a Zoom call or a conference call, and the NBA has their own doctors as well, and you guys figure this stuff out? I mean, it was the bubble in Orlando during the summer, and now teams are practicing at their own training camps and their own facilities.
Yeah, I mean, this was just disseminating information. Every single day I get between 1 and 3 memos. One was, the most recent one was about 135 pages long, and it goes through basically how you play basketball and prevent the transmission of disease. I mean, it's really all about that. So to educate, I know a fair amount about this stuff, but I didn't think I had any more capacity to learn, but I learned, I know 4 times now what I knew even last week based upon the information that's being disseminated. So we have Zoom calls pretty much daily now to cover this stuff, because I cannot possibly keep up. So virtually every night I have a Zoom call, Saturday nights, Sundays, Friday nights, and then during the week with the NBA, who's done an amazing job. And you have to understand, think about the stakeholders. Everything is done in collaboration with the Players Association, the Board of Governors, the owners, the GMs, the trainers, strength and conditioning, and the team physicians. And we have to all be on the same page to understand these procedures. So you can imagine how absolutely complex it really is, and then at the same time how you actually teach one another how to get through this. So it's been I didn't think I had room for yet another full-time job, but it's another full-time job.
Yeah, even more than your usual when the regular season starts, right? Absolutely.
No, the season, the concept of managing injury and so forth pales in comparison compared to what we have to do to get these procedures in place and execute them.
Well, time now for our pro athlete injury of the week. We do this each and every week here on Sports Medicine Weekly. Brooklyn Nets superstar Kevin Durant in his return from a torn Achilles. Dr. Cooley suffered the injury in Game 5 of the NBA Finals in June 2019. Durant says he's been through surgeries and injuries before, but the longest recovery he had was 3 months previous times. But the first phase of this Achilles recovery was 3 months long, and he couldn't walk or run. He said they had to use a scooter, learn how to walk again. He thinks that those milestones of learning how to walk, learning how to run and jump again, and getting used to certain movements again are underestimated. Dr. Cole, is a torn Achilles one of the most difficult injuries to return from?
I think an Achilles tear, a quadricep tendon tear, a patella tendon tear are far more challenging to return than, say, an ACL reconstruction. Because, when you think about it, Steve, these are tendons and ligaments that connect soft tissue to bone. And in order to get them to heal and be strong enough to tolerate the load of the body, it takes about 3 months to get about 75% of the strength it had before it actually tore. So what you're dealing with is a recovery phase where you have to protect the soft tissue before they ramp back up. And that, like what Kevin Durant was saying, is that he has to rewind, almost like recovering from a stroke, to learn how to run, learn how to walk, run, strengthen, and so forth. So he said it well, and it is probably one of the most challenging recoveries because you're shut down. You're rewinding the clock back to the point where you're just learning to walk again. There's not too many injuries that actually do that in the sporting sector.
Wow. Have you treated a lot of Achilles, or do you see them often at Midwest Orthopedics at Rush, even among your partners?
Yeah, my foot and ankle guys will see a lot of Achilles tendon tears, especially now, people trying to return back, to sports when they hadn't really, had that preemptive training and so forth. It's not an uncommon Sunday afternoon injury in tennis players and older adults and so forth. Fortunately, we haven't had very many, locally in our professional athletes, but when you do, it's a real challenge, as Kevin Durant can attest to.